So, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. Excited to be here with you and talk about human design and leadership and whatever else you have on your mind today. So
Cool. Well, me too. I've been like eagerly ever since we scheduled this. I think it was a week ago or something. I've been dying for this morning. So, really, like, I woke up this morning and it's beautiful here. And I took a shower much earlier than I usually do. And it was kind of bringing me back to like all those years when I did the gift weekends, when I would get up like really much earlier than usual, and there would be this feeling of like something special was about to happen, like sacredness or something. So, but there's something about this that feels similar to me of I don't know, just all our recent talks about kind of collaborating and having our works, I feel like finally come together when for so long I've been wanting to work with you. Like, I've been thinking our interests are so aligned and we have such similar works, but it never quite came together. So anyway, it feels really special to me that it seems like it's happening, and it's got that special feeling this morning.
yeah, I too have felt all along that there was something there but have to wait for the right timing. That's all there is to it, right?
Yeah.
And today apparently was the right timing because it was how long ago that we first had you do your parenting class for our community.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, I want to just go a little bit farther back. So, Kristen and we met, I think we first met in 2005. I attended like two She Matrix circles at your house. But then, whatever. Then I didn't go back until it was 2007 when I was in a really dark place. And yeah, my friend, we had a common friend who invited me, told me like, how about you come to a circle? And then I did. And then I ended up doing the gift weekend, which is this really intensive 3 day event retreat that Kristen was guiding. And this is where our relationship started, where then I ended up getting involved in She Matrix. And in a way, Kristen taught me a lot of what I do in my work now. Like, she's the one who taught me how to hold sacred space, which I feel is the main thing that I mean, yes, of course, I've studied so much since then on trauma and highly sensitive and all of that, but I feel like kind of the foundation of what I bring in my healing sessions, but even the feeling that people have in my clean parenting program, where oftentimes they say, I had no idea I could feel this safe and this connected to people in an online program. And a lot of that I learned from Kristen. Like, she's been the closest thing that I've had to a mentor was definitely Kristen.
Hmm. Thank
Um,
you. Although I feel like you took to it like a duck to water. So it was inside just uh needing to experience it first, right?
yeah,
Like that capacity that you have to hold such deep and powerful space until you experience it, you don't even know it's possible, right?
yeah,
Feel like it just opened the door and you stepped right in.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, all right, there's like 8 different directions that I could go here. That's why I made some notes on like what I want to focus on. So yeah, so one of my intentions for today was to just introduce Kristen to my community. So do you want to just share a little bit about yourself and
Oh,
your
boy.
work?
Yeah, well, spent 20 years in the corporate world, very successful. Thought that's where I would always be, but something felt off. Um, I didn't know what, but then I ended up attending a gift weekend in San Francisco, and it it just blew open my feeling body, my heart, because I was very intellectual, so I had no like connection here. And it reconnected me with my deeper self. And when I went back to work, it just didn't fit anymore. It was like outgrowing an old pair of pants or something. And I started to just see how out of integrity with me it was. And so I left, and we started that year. We had 3 gift weekends at my home. I joined the Shematrix Mystery School. So I left.
Talk about a duck like, what did you just say? It's like how a duck takes to water. It's like you just like one weekend turned your life around and was like, done with this. This is
Well, it terrified me, though. It completely terrified me. I went with a friend, and if she hadn't been with me, I don't know if I would have brought it back to Chicago. Because having gone from being safe by thinking my way through things to realizing that didn't get me anywhere, that there's a whole nother world out there, it was terrifying. But I had to unlearn everything I'd learned for the first 20 years of my life. First 20 something, 40 years. I don't remember how old I was, maybe 40. I had to unlearn everything. And so it was kind of a painful journey at the beginning, but I could see the possibility. I went to Australia, since this is where the group is originated, and I experienced there that incredible energy of sisterhood, and how an encouraging and given permission to be myself, how that could exist within a group of people. I wanted that. I wanted more of that. So I kept going until I could embrace it myself, till I could, yes, it was always in there, but it was so deep in there. It took a while to access it all. But I'm so grateful. So I had 20 years in the corporate world, 20, whatever it's been, 25, 30 years in the opposite world, in the more spiritual world. And it's been an extraordinary adventure, really. Yeah. So
it's cool to hear after all these years. I don't know that I knew that, or I'm sure I've heard that story at some point, but I didn't remember it started with a gift weekend. It's pretty cool.
yeah, since that opened up another whole thing, because I started the whole Flowering Heart Center community. I went to India 10 or 12 times. I took people there. It opened up a whole vast new territory to explore. And it's never ending. So yeah, it was quite an adventure.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about what you're doing now, which is kind of what brings us here today. Mhm.
Yeah, so I discovered human design, was writing my first book on leading your family. My family needs my leadership, spiritual leadership now. And
Yeah, I'm laughing because I don't even think I put it together when you were writing the book that's literally what I'm known for, is being a leader in your family. Like, I think because we were coming at it from such different perspectives. That's so weird, though. I can't believe I never put it together. All these walks when you were in the process of writing the book, and we're so bizarre. Anyway, sorry.
I know, life, is
We
hilarious.
were meant to work together at some point. It was like we kept getting these hints for all these
Right,
years, but
right. We weren't yet. And yeah, so I wrote that first book. Um, I sent the manuscript in, and I left the next day to walk the El Camino, to walk 500 miles across northern Spain. But Robin Wynn was writing her first book on human design. She was in my same class. So I offered to interview her to promote her book. But of course, I lost control of the whole interview when she went through my chart, and I just had an internal kind of meltdown. because she was describing my life to me in such detail and giving more practical pointers. You know, it's not like a reading that I had experienced before, like, you know, this is where you're headed, or I just felt like it was so grounded. It described me and how I best make decisions, right? How I can communicate, what my conundrums were, how I was built to both work independently and with the group, and that there's a tension in my chart between those two things that I have to navigate. How I skip steps, you know, I have huge capacity, and people were on me for making mistakes a lot of the time, or skipping steps. So I kept trying to slow down and do things more carefully, but that just frustrated me.
Not your way.
I'm built for speed. So I just have to communicate to my team that I skip steps. So please help me with that, you know, put structure in place for that. So it was so freeing. I was like, okay, I dived into human design. I'd heard about it
I
for
have to
many
say,
years.
like, when I watched that interview, I kept laughing because the stuff you know, knowing you so well and having worked with you, it was like, oh my god, yep, yep. I'll link that interview in the show notes because yeah, it's really beautiful. And I don't, you described it as you lost control of the interview. And I mean, I guess I can understand if you had a plan of how you thought it was going to go, that it felt that way. But watching it was so beautiful. And I even had a team member was talking to me about it, like just how much, like how she sat down with her cup of coffee and just like reveled in watching it. So yeah, it's really cool. And yeah, anyway.
Yeah, yeah, quite the introduction. I've been avoiding human design for so many years. I knew about it, but I thought I don't need another modality, you know, to add to my list. But then I saw the power of it at that point and I was all in. So my 5-1 profile who wants to research deeply and then bring it to the world, you know, so it was completely turned on and I just read everything I could about it and was just totally steeped in it for a few years there and until I wrote my book. So for me, I'm not interested in teaching human design per se. I'm interested in helping people understand it and apply it towards to use it to move towards your goals. And so Lead by Design is the book that I wrote last year that looks at what your soul's goal is for yourself and then gets you aligned with your human design and how to use those strengths to move towards your goals and where you might be experiencing conditioning in your open centers that are holding you back and how we can clear that and what you might hit that would normally throw you off, you know, off your trajectory and how to get back on. So it's really practical kind of, let's use it to move towards making your life magical, moving towards what you really want for yourself. So, yeah.
And I was first introduced to human design about maybe 5, 6 years ago. Anyway, but something around that, maybe 4, whatever. A few years ago by my friend Leah. And she did a few readings for me. And it's really cool. And like I gave that as presents to a number of people. Like for a year, like that was everybody's presents was a reading with Leah. And they all loved it. And in fact, our common friend of Kristen and I, Carolyn, got equally into human design way before me. So recently I was getting it from Kristen a little bit. We haven't talked a lot in the last couple of years with me being sick. But then I had Carolyn too, and I had Natasha, and then there was Leah. So I was also in the middle of it. And Yeah, so anyway, so I already really liked it a few years ago. But then I remember one day I was kind of maybe struggling with money, I don't know. And I asked Leah, I'm like, do you think you could do a reading on money for me? She's like, I've never done it, but let's try it. So she goes and she reads, she does a reading or whatever you call it. And it was great. And then a little bit later, she messages me. She's like, Ilian, oh my God, you're not going to believe this. So I was reading something that connects to money, and it talked about benevolent leadership. And for people who know me, like the one thing I'm known for is having coined the term clear benevolent leadership. And that's the thing that I keep talking is most unique about my parenting work is the leadership piece that I bring. So anyway, I was just one of those do moment. And I was like, okay, there's really like you can't make this shit up. It's not like some random or a horoscope that you read in the newspaper. Um, but it didn't become a part of my life until a few months ago. I started doing when I was really in the thick of what a lot of people know, like just my struggles of the last few years of chronic fatigue and how I was just really feeling like I was not going to find my way out of life. Like I had given it my fair shot for 55 years. It wasn't working. Like it just wasn't. And I started doing sessions with somebody on like a friend of mine, Natasha, where she was just mostly just holding space, but also she was really into human design. So every time we would meet, she would talk to me about aspects of my design. And there was just this sense of like, wait, like maybe part of my struggle has been that I've been like forcing myself to function in a way that really doesn't work for me. And that's part of the chronic fatigue. That's part of the exhaustion. Like I'm really strong. So I was able to keep going. I mean, I had always like depressions, but I was able to keep, I'd pull myself out of those depressions and keep going. But over my life, it like caught up with me and my whole body crashed. And I mean, I talk often that there's maybe like 5 different things that contributed to my almost miraculous, it seems, recovery from chronic fatigue. But human design is one really big part of that is just really learning like how I didn't have to do things that didn't feel good to me. I could stop functioning in a way that was hard and joyless and felt like, trudging. And I could just follow what felt good and right and energized me and fed me. So that's how and then I found myself talking to people more and more. So all my one-on-one coaching clients, I'd be like, wait, give me your birth info. And then I would like create a chart for everybody. So I started really introducing it into my work. But yeah, I have no desire in studying it. For me, and kind of my purpose for parenting for wholeness is more creating an umbrella where I can bring together people who have all their expertise to really serve my people, but who have the same shared core values and kind of core beliefs. So it's kind of like if I recommend, oh, you should do this program with Kristin, that people will be like, okay, I trust it because like they know the kind of the values of parenting for wholeness, and that I only recommend somebody if I really, really believe in it. And it does happen a lot that if I tell people you should read this book or you should do this program, they just do because I never give one size fits all advice. It's very, I really get to know people. I mean, I know that wasn't the case. Maybe when you met me, that wasn't the case, Kristin, but I've matured over the last 15 years. Um, so anyways, I'm really excited to bring human design to my community. And so today that was part of one of my intentions for meeting today was to give people a sense of the power of it. And the reason I wanted to do it today is because I don't know, maybe I don't know if you want to talk about it, how it came about. So maybe I'll just set it up a little bit. But yeah, so Um, okay, now there's like 2 different ways that I want to go. Okay, well, so first of all, so Kristin and I, um, like there's always a way that I felt drawn to her and I felt like we were meant to be friends, but I could never quite see how it would happen. So that's been going on. I mean, I feel like we only really became friends maybe like 8 years ago or something when we started really like hanging out a lot. Um, but before that, um, yeah, well, first of all, I was at her house all the time because she had all these events there. So it really came to feel like this was this felt like my family home. Like this feeling of going home to mom's. I had that going to Kristen's house. So there was always something very like special about her. And then the other thing is that for those few years I was really involved in She Matrix, I was often like on the team. So like she would be guiding the gift weekends and I would be on the team or organizing it. And I've really created a life, and a lot of people know my background. I've avoided having anybody ever in positions of authority to me because my experience of people in positions of authority in my family was so destructive that, and I so did not know how to assert myself and how to set boundaries, that I really created a life where I never ever ever had to report to anybody. And Kristen's the only person that I've allowed to do that because with her, well, I think my ability to feel safe was limited, but I felt as safe as I could possibly feel, and I felt like I could trust her. I think I can honestly say that she's the only woman that I felt I really fully could trust. And to me, she embodies that clear, benevolent leadership that I teach. And she's the only person that I've personally experienced it with, where I felt like, I think, well, in part we work similarly, so I didn't need a lot of details, but I felt like when we worked together, it was so smooth. Like we worked together so well, as long as I was in a good place. But then the part that's more meaningful is that so because she's the only person I've allowed to be in this position, I projected all my mother's shit on her. And I put you through a lot of stuff. Anyway, you can talk about that. You're welcome to. In fact, I think it would be funny, but like I've never experienced with anybody else, somebody who could be like, I could be doing all my antics and you would just be there quietly. And then when I'd be done talking, you'd be like, okay, so I can see like whatever you're feeling this way, but we have this coming. So what do you want to do? Like you were that it's like no matter what I could do, first of all, you could handle it, which very few people can handle me. And two, it's like you still loved me. Like you didn't kick me off, you didn't yell at me, none of it. Like you were everything that I teach about clear benevolent leadership. You were that for me. My mind just went blank. Like that rarely happens for me. But that's how significant Kristen is for me.
Mhm. Wow, thank you. Yeah. Well, it was quite a growth time for me too, because I could so feel your passion for the work and your abilities were huge. And so when you get caught up in all that, it's I had learned through my work with Matrix how to hold space, right? So um, it was natural to bring that to the situation, but it also taught me the value of it. Like I so wanted you to succeed because I could so feel what you could bring. And so I was really grateful that you hung in there with me too. It was like we were like on the phone every day for a while, every day. All right,
I
what's
gotta
going
remember
on?
that what you're referring to now. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but you stayed with it. And uh,
But it was because of you. It was because of
well,
your attitude. Anybody else, I would have been, I'm out of here. But because it's like I felt that you were with me, not against me. I mean,
Mm.
yes, you were not allowing all of my shit. But again, that's exactly what I teach, in terms of benevolent leadership. Anyway, it's just amazing to me. And yeah, I did last week. I asked Kristen if she would adopt me. And even though she's only 10 years older, so it's a little bit odd, but she's also like almost a foot taller than me. So it does kind of feel that way. And I'm not sure what Frank meant, her husband, when he said, I think she just did, but I'm like, okay, I'll just. Because it is. I feel like there's nobody that I'm like that with, where like how when I'm with you, I turn into a little kid. And like I think you're like, if somebody saw all my friends, they would think you're the least likely for me to act like a goofy little kid, but I do. And I think it's because there's this feeling of like, there's somebody who's like, I can so trust and rely on that I can like just, yeah, be like childlike. So, okay, I'm going to stop talking about all that you mean to me, but because I could just do that for the next half hour.
Mm.
But yeah, so do you want to talk a little bit about what happened 12 years ago?
Um, well, you were working on your program, your parenting program, right? So,
No, that was way before.
well,
I
well,
had
I wanted you to talk I wanted you to present what you knew about it to the community. My experience of you when I first met you, I was so struck by your uh, ease with parenting. I only got these snippets when I was over there, but I had so many parenting struggles that to see in these little snippets of how easeful it was for you in a way, how there was this relationship I could see you had that was what I would have wanted for me and my kids. So,
Yeah. And
relation,
actually, well, and you knew two of my girls did circles too. So
yeah,
you kind of got to meet them and see our relationship through that too.
which only deepened my like respect for what had been created in your family. And I'm like, and part of the work in our Flowering Heart Center too was around relationships. We do a lot of work on healing relationships because this is where we grow, and this is always the biggest thing for people. So I really wanted to bring for you to bring some of your expertise through for the community so that they could see how it was possible. You were a kind of a living example of when you show up to relationships in an open, honest way, that this is what's possible for people. You can have these good relationships with children. So yeah, so I asked you to do a class for them, and you can say what was going on for you inside of all that,
Yeah.
but
Well, I think
um,
like my recollection, and I don't have a good memory, so who knows, but my recollection is that I don't remember that I had any interest in teaching about parenting at this point. I think you're the one who thought that I should be teaching about parenting. So you had invited me and you had said, like, would you come and lead a class with me on parenting as part of your offerings for your community? And I was like, well, yeah, okay, I can do that. But then you told me after that you had no desire to teach a class on parenting. You just wanted to provide me the support so that I would bring it. So that you
yeah,
really did it for me because you felt like I just needed some support in.
yeah, because even then could see how aligned we were in the theory around it. I was a little late for working with my kids, you had been practicing, and I had through my work in India and through other things had an understanding of relationships. So but I just touch on parenting in my relationship courses because I'm going through working with your spouse, working with your parents, working with children, working with all the different relationships you have. So I wanted you to go in depth on the parenting piece because that is the most important relationship we have. You know, it's the blueprint from the time we're
Yeah.
conceived. And so, yeah, I wanted you to bring all that you know into it. And no, I didn't want to do a full-on parenting thing. I just want to get people working with how do you handle triggers, you know, emotional relationships trigger us. That's what they do. How do you handle that? So I was more dealing with those kinds of things, but you have the whole theory and the whole approach for the family. So yeah, so I definitely wanted to get you going.
Yeah, it's like I had forgotten that until I was trying to find an email that you had just sent me like in the past week, and I like type her name and it pulls up this Parenting for Wholeness from 12 years ago. I'm like, what is that? So I open it up and it was the flyer that her husband Frank had created. And so the class happened today, like December 15th, 2021. So this is why we like crammed to do this call today. I was attached to having it today, even though both of us have really busy days. But I just really like the significance of the day. But like the thing about it that most struck me when I pulled that up is that I remembered you had said, well, what should we call the class? And I was like, I don't know. Let me think about it. And it only took me a few hours. I was like, Parenting for Wholeness. So this, oh my God, it's like, I'm just feeling it. So this is where it got started. So who knows? Who knows what would have happened if this class didn't happen? Maybe because I never meant to be a parenting coach, not then, and not 10 years ago when I started Parenting for Wholeness. I mostly wanted to get people kind of like to educate people about the importance of working on their triggers, like Kristin, again, we're so aligned. Like that's what interested me, was to do the deep healing work and helping the moms heal, but knowing that if I catered to conscious moms and provided them some parenting information that would draw them to my work, and then I could like, yeah, educate them and then get them doing the inner work, which is what I really wanted to do with them. But life had other intentions for me, apparently. Um, so yeah, so thank you for yet another beautiful gift that you've brought into my life of, yeah, through this class. So yeah, we have about 20 more minutes here. So what I wanted to kind of focus on today, because again, that's one thing that we're very aligned on, is that whole leadership idea. So your first book was like how your family needs your leadership. Now it's Lead by Design. For me, I'm all about yeah, benevolent leadership. So I was thinking it could be cool for you to look at my chart and like see I think just because people like a lot of people know me well. So I think you reading like some of what you see in terms of, I don't know, my work or leading my community, and that might be really interesting.
Yeah. Is it all right then if I bring up your
Yep,
chart? Okay, can
absolutely.
you make me a co-host?
Uh, Participant.
And I'll share the screen.
Okay, I am not sure how to do that. Oh, make host.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to share the screen with your design. Oh, hang on a minute. There you are. So, yeah, this is what I don't know how much your community knows about human design, but this is a
I
body
think you
graph.
have my wrong birth date. Do you have May 19th?
It's May 18th. that's the universal
Oh,
time.
okay. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, you're good.
that gets confusing. Yeah. Um, it gives both the local and universal time. So this is a diagram of your chart based on the date and time you were born and the place you were born, and it shows where the planets were aligned. So in human design, it's a newer technology, right? It's based not only on astrology, obviously, and somewhat on the chakra centers, although there's 9 instead of 7. It's based on quantum physics and the I Ching, the Kabbalah. So it brings together a lot of ancient tools into one. And I love that it's so visual. It makes it easy. So on the right side is where all the planets were at the time of your birth. And so, for example, the sun is in gate 8. Now, there are 12 signs of the zodiac, and that's what most people are familiar with. But, and it's consistent with this too. But there's 64 different I Ching, we call them gates. And the I Ching's an ancient Chinese divination system. But with 64 of them, you can already get a sense that they're very detailed and very more specific. And so the sun was in gate 8 at the time of your birth. And here already is a leadership gate. It's about contribution. It's a leadership path of recognizing and showing us what is unique and what is innovative that people need to know about. And so when there's an opportunity for you to speak about it, you bring new solutions for us. So for example, when you were talking about the continuum concept, your journey with that and introducing that to the world, that's totally aligned with your gate 8 because it was ahead of its time and you were bringing it to the tribe. The 4 after the 8 means that your network is of prime importance to you, that you bring everything you know to the network and all your opportunities show up in your network, very network centered. And so that contribution happens there and then of course ripples out beyond your network. So this is all these different gates at the time of birth. These are characteristics you know about yourself. And then 3 months before birth, all the planets were in a different set of gates. And in human design, that's when we say the soul comes in. And so the soul is being impacted 3 months before birth with these energies. And these are energies you learn about. You don't necessarily, they're part of your intrinsic design, but you may not be aware of them until your life experiences or people point them out. And so your son, we call these unconscious and these conscious, your son was in the gate 30, which is intensity, passion, desire. So I love this because, right, it brings together the contribution that you want to bring forward.
Intense.
Right?
Sorry.
Yes, with that intense desire, intensity, passion. And the thing with passion, right, it can be this huge torch bearer, light the way, or it can torch you and burn you to the ground, right? It's a very powerful energy. Um, and the 6 after it means you're a role model here. You're wise about it after you learn over the years to work with it appropriately. There's a trial and error period of working with it. And then you become wise about it at the age that you are now. So, yeah, so together all these numbers are plotted at the correct center. And then when you get two of them in the same channel. So for example, this gate 8, back here, it shows up off the throat center with a black line coming off of it, because it's from this side. The gate 30 shows up at the emotional solar plexus, this brown triangle at the bottom here. It's got a red line and a black line because the 30 also appears in your moon. So this passion, this intensity is a driver for you. It's in your moon, conscious moon as well. It's 2 places in the chart, so it's that much more powerful. So it has a black and red line. And so when you have 2 things on either side of the same channel, like this 4521, then it turns on the center. The center becomes colored in.
Okay.
So you can see that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defined centers and 4 open. And when you can't remember, you're trying to remember, I can't either. We both have open heads and open ajnas. And with those, you can't necessarily remember things. You might remember the impression of things, but you don't remember specifics.
To say that all the time. Like, I'll remember feelings, but don't ask me to remember. Oh my God, geography class was such a nightmare.
The
I
what
can't,
class?
yeah, geography, because I
Oh,
had to memorize all the geography and history. I was like, how am I supposed to remember these names and numbers that mean nothing to me? Yeah. But I
yeah,
can remember, oh, I remember Kristen, like that one time 8 years ago when we were talking about something because he had an emotional reaction or like you were, and I'll remember that like vividly because there's that feeling experience of it.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, you're not designed to remember. And the thing is, when you're with somebody who has a defined head in ajna, so my husband has a defined head in ajna, he's very certain. He knows what he knows, but he's not always right. He's very certain, but not always right. So when I'm with him, I feel this need to be certain myself. I should have an opinion here. I should know. There's a pressure to know here and you don't. But the beauty of the open head is that you can take in all ideas and inspiration and look at them. You can really meet people where they're at mentally with whatever their ideas are. You can organize, the ajna organizes the information. You're free to organize it in many different ways. So there's a beauty to the openness and the being able to hold all kinds of points of view, but you're taking in other people's ideas and you have to be careful to see, is this what you believe? Or because you're taking in everybody's beliefs and everybody's ideas and inspiration and looking at them for yourself. But this is where a lot of conditioning happens. You have to question your beliefs, right?
Yeah. I feel like that's what, in a way, the first 55 years of my life have been about, has been figuring out how to clear that and like stop buying into other people's stuff, of really trusting myself,
Yeah, and this,
knowing what I know and not, yeah, because I do get like, I get this almost like deer in headlights feeling when kind of what you were describing, when somebody's like really clear on something or asks me to explain or justify something, I can't do it. And then I just go in this like, I don't know. I just know it's wrong because I feel, or I just know it's right because I feel it in my body, but I have zero ability to articulate it to you. And then I feel like dumb and like an idiot and uneducated. And yeah.
me too. That's the open head. My husband can pull out facts from everywhere to support his opinions with that defined head and
I have
ajna.
such a hard time with those people. It's, just thinking about it, I want to go hide.
Yeah, but yeah, this is this is just one example of how having a defined center versus an open center is a very different way to navigate the world. There are those few people with open head and ajna who have photographic memories. That is, my mother had that. There is a possibility of that, but generally we don't remember. But you'll notice your the one gate you have in the ajna is gate 47. It's mindset, and it's in your Pluto, which is the path of transformation. So really critical for you. One of the important things for you is to make sure you're in a good mindset. It is your path of transformation, getting yourself back into a good mindset when you move off it.
I feel like that's been my whole life is, or so much of my life is pulling myself out of those depressions, because when I'm there, nothing happens. And then as soon as I get myself to a positive place, everything flows. It's like literally money will like I had, when this happened this year, in 3 weeks, I made more money than the previous 9 months.
Yeah, because when your mindset is good, it turns on the gifts in your chart, and you have the money line here, and the queen and the treasurer, and you have gate 14, which creates resources for other people. So you have plenty of money in your chart once your mindset is good. But where you get stuck, what you were describing earlier of this long depression and pulling yourself out, you have this gate 29 here, which is the gate of perseverance. It says yes to too many things. And once you say yes, you can't back out. You persevere through, and your body takes the hit. This
Oh.
is gate 29. It's in Jupiter. Jupiter makes things bigger. It's blessings, right? So when you're on the high side of perseverance, there's huge blessings for you. But when you're on the low side of it, when you're doing something you have a no for, it's really detrimental to your body.
Hmm.
And it is hard to pull out. So yeah, burnout, no surprise here. So being very careful about, with a defined sacral center, you have this inner GPS where people should ask you yes, no questions, because then that motor turns on and gives you a response. This is your decision-making center, but you're not meant to decide in the moment. Your emotional solar plexus is your authority. You can see
Oh my God.
down
Sorry,
here.
I just had a light bulb about this yes no. So one of the things that I mean right now, I just have like 4 new team members, like everything's exploding in my life. So I'm working with all these team members. And one of the things that I really struggle with, like I'm not a visually creative person at all. Like if that's in my chart, it's clearly not lit in any way. And so I have some people who are creating images for me. And and they send me those images, and I don't know what to say. I'll know if it's a yeah, I know if it's a yes or no, but they're like, "What do you think about this?" And I almost get like a hot flash like feeling, like my whole body just goes like, I don't know what to do with that. And then I close the emails. I don't respond to those. I can't. And I keep reopening them. I'm like, I can't. I close it. And then I go. But if they just ask me, do you like this or not? I'd be like, no,
Or
do you like
they
this or not? Like I could, yeah, I
right.
know the yes knows.
Or they can say something like, do you know what you think about this? Can you say what you think about this?
Oh my God, thank you. I'm gonna send this to them like right away.
Yes, because otherwise you go blank. My husband used to say, where do you want to go for dinner? And blank. I have no idea. But if he says, do you want Italian? No. Do you want, I can answer those questions. So he used to get upset, but now he understands.
I heard you say that on your interview of Robin. And it just sounded kind of, I don't know, simplistic or something. And now when you're doing it to me, I'm like, yes, like this will make such a difference in my life. Like just understanding. I hate that feeling. I mean, I feel like I could go and do like 5 sessions on just like how much I hate this feeling of not knowing like what to answer people. And then I feel like I'm bad or I'm wrong. And anyway, it activates so much shit. So just knowing that was worth doing this whole call. Thank you. We can go now. No, I'm kidding.
Well, the beauty of this is you can go in depth. You can have somebody sit there and ask you a bunch of yes, no questions and go deeper. You know, do you want to go out for ice cream? Yes. But remember, it makes you not sleep so well. Are you sure you want to go out? You're giving them more information. No, I don't. So a yes, no can change with more information. So you can have people ask you lots of questions to go deep into something. But you do have the caveat of clarity comes to you over time.
I
So
hate that. When I first learned this, when I first learned about just the emotional authority, I swear I went into a depression for a couple of weeks because I was like, wait, I have to stop being spontaneous? Like, I can't do what I feel in the moment. Like, what the hell is that? Like, I don't want this design. But then, I got over myself and I started really seeing the value of it. But
well,
yeah.
here's the thing. You have this gate 16, which likes to full of zest and enthusiasm and likes to leap into something.
Yep.
You have a defined will center with everything running through it, like your solar plexus connected to your sacral, to your identity center, so you can push through. So it's very easy for you if you make a quick decision to push it through. Everything's going through your will center here, which is a great powerhouse, but when it's misused, it's a problem, right?
Yeah, which
So for
I mean,
you,
we've both seen that many examples of what
yes.
happens to me when I get, yeah, overly enthusiastic and make decisions without taking the time to ensure that they're for my highest good.
Yeah, because you with this configuration, burnout is easy to, it's an easy place for you to get into. And you have pressure with the open root, pressure to do something always, but it's not necessarily important for you to do anything. You have to tune in, yes or no. Is there something for me to do here? So there's a lot of power in your chart to follow through, make things happen. And you have that queen energy, that strong leadership energy here. The queen who is making sure that everyone in the kingdom is taken care of. But then the 21, which is the treasurer who manages resources very effectively. So you've got both. This is why this is the money line.
But I can't, I mean, it's so funny because, well, like you talk about the queen, and like people on my team have been talking about how we're building your queendom. And I'm like, but I don't want to be like, I'm resisting that title because I feel like I don't want to be like a ruler. I just see it more as I kind of have the vision, like I can hold kind of the umbrella, but
It's
the
the
other thing is,
it's the benevolent ruler. It's the one who's making sure everyone's taken care of in her kingdom.
yeah, which is definitely what I do.
It is. And,
But then oh, go ahead.
there's a 3 behind it. So you learn by trial and error with this over the years.
Yep. That's not bad. I'm so
Yeah.
glad to be 55. I mean, I wish I still looked like I did at 40, but oh man. Life is so much better having all those errors behind me.
Well, yeah, you have a 4-6 profile, you're a role model. And it's a triphasic thing. The first 30 years, you're trial and error, and the next 20 years, you're in the observer mode, seeing what's happening among other people. But now you're at the stage of the wisdom coming together. This one who can see a little further down the road of what's happening, this one who takes all her wisdom and shares it with her network. So definitely, yeah. But notice.
So yeah, the oh, I just want to like the other thing that was making me laugh when you were talking about my my will center is you talked about being able to allocate resources effectively. I can't even almost every day, at least a few times a week, I talk about how effectiveness is such a high value of mine that sometimes it even paralyzes me. Like, because I so want to be effective that if I can't find the most effective way, I won't do it. Like, it's such a high value. And I don't like having that as a value. Like, efficiency and effectiveness, it feels so like, I don't know, like left brain and so like doer, but it runs me. It's so alive in me. I can organize things like so easily. And yeah.
Yeah, well, it's important to be effective so that so that there's support available. The kingdom is taken care of. You have to save some grain for the famine. This is a very key role. The low side of it is controlling behavior for the sake of control, of course, and it's in your Saturn, so you'll get a little slap on the wrist if you do that. But no, in the way you're describing effectiveness, yes, very important for the tribe.
Well, I used to be controlling, so yeah, that's something that I've had to work on. I just realized the time, and I have to go. I have to run actually, but we can definitely do more of these because, yeah, let's do more and like have more people see like the power of it. And plus, I want you to help me like run my team and like read their charts and tell us how we can best work together. I think it's going to be like so amazing.
Yeah, very powerful.
So,
Well,
any last words for you until we do this again?
just thank you for being here with me. I enjoyed this time together. Yeah.
Yeah, well, me too. I can't wait to see you in person in 2 days.
Yep.
All righty. Well,
All right.
thank you. And we'll see everybody. I don't know I don't know how to end this. Goodbye. Thank you.
We just don't want to end it. That's all. But
That's part of it.
we continued.
Yep, to be continued. Bye.
Hmm.